All right, guys. So today we're going to go ahead and go over find the area of composite figures. So we're going to start off with this figure on the top. We have a combination of a rectangle and a semicircle. What I like to do is to outline both the figures. So I'm outlining my rectangle first, and I'm going to draw it off to the side. And then I'm going to outline my semicircle, and I'm going to draw that one off to the side as well. And then I like to find the area for both. So with my rectangle, I know my formula is area is equal to base times height. I'm going to identify both of those on that figure. So I'm looking, it's pretty simple. I know my base is going to be 12, and then my height is 5. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 5, which is going to get me an area of 60 inches squared. All right, the semicircle is a little bit more complicated. Make sure you always refer back to your formula charts. And always double check what your formula is. That way you don't make any avoidable mistakes. I know my formula for the area of a circle is area is equal to pi r squared. But this is semicircle, meaning it's half of a circle. So I'm going to have to divide by 2 here. I'm going to fill in the information I know. I know that pi is going to equal 3.14. Oh, and I forgot to write down my diameter. So my diameter of the circle is going to be 5 inches. Because notice, if I'm crossing the circle, if I'm going from end to end, the number I pass is 5. So my diameter for the circle is 5 inches. So that means that my radius is going to be half of that diameter. If my diameter is 5, that means my radius is going to be 2.5. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and square 2.5. 2.5 squared means I'm going to multiply 2.5 times 2.5. I'm not multiplying 2.5 times 2. You're multiplying it times itself. And 2.5 times 2.5 is going to get me 6 and 25 hundredths. All right, afterwards, we're going to multiply 3.14 and 6 and 25 hundredths. And that's going to get me 19 and 625 hundredths. Now remember, we're going to divide by 2 because it's a semicircle. That would have been the area of the entire circle, but we're dividing by 2. All right, after we divide by 2, we're going to get this lovely number of 9 and 8,125 10,000ths yards squared. All right, so those are my 2 areas. Now the only thing left to do is to add them both. So we're going to add 60, and I'm going to go ahead and round this to the nearest hundredth. All right, so I'm going to underline the 1. I'm going to draw an arrow to the 2. The 2 is telling my 1 to stay the same. So I'm going to add 9 and 81 hundredths. And we end up with 69 and 81 hundredths yards squared. And that would be our answer there. And I'm going to go ahead and make this small and move it on up. That way we could do the other ones. All right, moving on to number 2. So again, I'm going to outline both of my figures. All right, over here we have a trapezoid. Reason why it's a trapezoid, we only have one pair of parallel sides. All right. And below that we have a triangle. Oh, not my best triangle, but it's all good. All right, so I'm gonna start off with my trapezoid, and I'm gonna fill in all the information I need. I need to know the measurement of both the parallel sides. So that's gonna be this side here and that side there. I know one of them is going to be 10 yards. And the other one, if I go across that base, I see I pass by 19. And I'm also going to need to know the distance between the two bases. All right, so if I go from end to end, I don't pass by anything, but I know the distance of this entire figure, the height of this entire figure is 13 yards. And then the height of my triangle is 7 yards. The only thing missing is this piece right here, and that's the height of my trapezoid. So I'll simply subtract 7 from 13, which gets me 6. So I know my height is 6. So I'm going to write down my formula, which is area is equal to 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times my height. Now I'm going to fill in the information I know. I know we're going to multiply times 1/2. I know, and you could pick either one for base 1 and base 2. It doesn't matter. So my two bases are 10 and 19. And then my height, or my distance between those two bases, is 6. All right, so now I'm going to now I'm going to add 10 and 19, which gets me 29. And then I'm going to go ahead and multiply 29 times 6, which is going to get me 174. Now all that's left to do is multiply 174 times 1/2, which is the same thing as dividing by 2. And that gets me an area of 87 yards squared. So we found our area of the trapezoid. All that's left is for us to find the area of our triangle, then add those two together. So I'm going to write down the formula for the area of a triangle. Area is equal to base times height divided by 2 or multiplied by 1/2. All right, now I need to know. Now I need to figure out the information I need to know. I need to know the measurement of my base, and notice I passed by 19, so my base is going to be 19 yards. And then my height, and we just discussed this, is going to be 7 yards. All right, so I'm going to multiply 19 times 7 and then divide by 2. 19 times 7 is going to get me 133. Then I'm going to divide 133 by 2, and that's going to get me 66.5. All right, now I'm going to take 66.5 and 87, and I'm going to add them together. All right, so now I have 153.5 yards squared as my answer here. All right, so we're going to minimize that. And we're going to go ahead and do our next lovely figure. So over here, we have a parallelogram. I'm going to draw my parallelogram right here. Again, not my best work. And then we have a trapezoid. We know this is a trapezoid because we only have one set of parallel sides. Parallel meaning they're never going to touch. All right, so we're going to start off with our parallelogram. So I'm going to need to get my base, which is 11, and then my height, which is the distance between the two, and that's 7. So we're going to have 11 times 7. So our formula is just going to be area is equal to base times height, and we're multiplying 11 times 7, which gets us 77 feet squared. You gotta love parallelograms. They make it so easy on us. All right, now let's look at our trapezoid. So the information I need to know here, I need to know the measure of both of my bases. They made it easy on this one. I know that's 8 feet. And on this one, we know the distance from end to end of this figure is going to be 20 feet. but that doesn't represent the distance of my base. All right, but I do know the height of this parallelogram is 7 feet. And then the height of my entire figure is 20 feet. So I'll just subtract 7 from 20, which gets me 13. All right, so we have our height of both bases. The only information that we need to know is the distance between those two bases. All right, so we need to know this piece right here, which is represented by 11 feet. All right, so now we have all the information we need to know. Again, always double check your formulas and make sure you're writing it down the right way. For the area of a trapezoid, that's going to be 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times our height. So again, it doesn't matter which one's base 1 or base 2 because we're adding them anyway. So we're going to do 13 plus 8 times the height of the trapezoid, which is 11. 13 plus 8 is going to get us 21. And then we're going to multiply 21 times 11. 21 times 11 is going to get us 231. And then we're going to divide 231 by 1/2. I'm sorry, we're going to divide 231 by 2 or multiply by 1/2, which gets us an area of 115.5 feet squared. All right, so we have the area of both figures. The only thing left to do is to add them together. So we're going to add 115.5 and 77. That's 12, 1. All right, so we end up with an area of 192.5 feet squared. All right, almost done. Moving on to our last little one. All right, so for all of these so far, we went ahead and we added. For this last one, let's go ahead and try subtracting. This is the way subtracting would work. I'm going to go ahead and pretend this is one whole figure. All right, so we have one whole figure here. There's no missing sides. All right, doesn't matter. On this whole figure, I know that my base is going to be 16 and my height is also going to be 16. So I'm just going to multiply 16 times 16. So we're going to find the area of this one large figure. So area is equal to base times height, and we're going to do 16 times 16. 16 times 16 is going to get me an area of 256 inches squared. All right, now I know that this whole figure isn't what we're trying to figure out. We're just trying to find the area of this shaded region. So that being said, I got to find the area of this region that we're not including, this spot right here. So if I'm looking inside, I see an 8 and an 8. So I'm going to do area. Oh, so I've still got the little square thing going. Area is equal to base times height. And my base is 8 and my height is 8. 8 times 8 is going to get us 64. So I know the area of that region that we don't want is going to be 64 inches squared. So since we don't want to include that portion, we're not going to add this time. We're going to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 64 from 256. So 256 minus 64 is going to give me 192. So now I know the area of my shaded region is going to be 192 inches squared. All right, so that concludes our notes for the day. Again, There's so many different ways that you could attack doing these problems. I'm a big fan of drawing out the shapes and finding the area of them separately and then